Hi, good morning, everybody. Welcome to AWS User Group Hyderabad. This is basically based on women in tech. This is the first event that we are hosting for that. Thank you for joining the AWS User Group Hyderabad. This is Swati. I am one of the women's lead who is going to be hosting this event today. The next lead is Vijaya Khyati.
Hey, everybody. This is Vijaya. I'm so glad to see you people here. Welcome to AWS Hyderabad user group. And we have excellent speaker today. I'm glad you people could join this event.
Yeah, today we have a speaker. She's Khyati Desai. She has 17 pluses of experience in AWS across different domains like fintech, banking, e-commerce, etc. And I think this session is going to be very great.
Hey, thanks Swati, thanks Vijaya. Okay, so hey, hi everyone. Okay, so uh, it is my pleasure to present over here, and I'm going to share my experiences and the best practices that we followed in my journey. So, just in addition to what Swati said, so I come with 17 years of experience. I currently work as Vice President Engineering Manager at Wells Fargo. Prior to that, I was working as an independent consultant, providing CTO functions to startup. That is when I got introduced to AWS, and then I architected few solutions, and then we have taken it live. So I'll be sharing my experiences with few of the projects, the tools that we used over there, and the mistakes that we did, and also how did we try to solve. So this is going to be like a half an hour session that I have. So maybe I'll try to wrap up and share as much information I can, and I hope it's helpful to all of you. Okay, so I'll just start. Uh, I hope everyone can see my screen. Uh, okay, so whenever we talk about AWS, that we want to migrate applications to cloud, right? So when I used to go to clients and when they used to ask me about the projects and tell me, Kathy, we want to take this to AWS, right? So the first question used to be why AWS? Why not on any other cloud, right? So the straightforward answer used to be that it seems that the market is looking there, all the other companies are already moving to AWS. It seems to be simple and the kind of a support that we get, and it's cost effective. Correct reasons for the right reasons and the kind of a support and the community that AWS has built. I think that was the very, very strong reason that we all chose AWS, right? So I started my journey with ShopX. Okay, that is when I, I actually worked as a
Khyati,
developer. Yeah, can you hear me?
sorry to interrupt. Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but your screen is not shared.
Oh, okay. I started the screen sharing. Okay, hold on. Can you see it now? Maybe I'll increase the zoom.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, maybe the window, it's okay. The slideshow seems to be not working. Okay, so no problem. So I'll just hide this bar. I'm sure. Is this visible? Swati?
Yes, it's visible now. Yeah, we can
Okay,
see it.
thank you. Yeah, thank you. So that is when I came into this AWS world. Okay, and before architecting, we all know it's like whoever has done certification over here. These are the pillars that we have. That AWS definitely shares with us is the well architected framework. We talk about operational excellence, security, reliability, performance efficiency, cost optimization, and sustainability. So how do you achieve all that, right? It's like when you start application, it's like you do a lift and shift, or your client would be saying, I want my data in my premise. Your application could be on cloud. We are okay with that. How do you architect all that, right? I want my complete application to be on AWS, right? If it is saving my cost, then it's okay. You can use AWS managed services, right? So we talk about all this, and how do we make decisions around that, right? So these are some of the pillars that AWS has already shared. I'm sure it's like everyone who has gone with the certification would have gone through this as well. I'll talk about this in detail, okay? But I'll talk about my experiences and going forward. But before that, I would actually suggest everyone to go through this any email migration story. This is one of my clients that I worked. I was not involved in this activity, but this is a very success story. So just to give you a brief, there was a fire in their data center in Mumbai. Their DR was in Noida, and their whole business has stopped. They couldn't go into the offices, they couldn't get into the data center, and they had to migrate all the applications to AWS. So their success story, if you go through the link, also you'll get to know more about it. It is they have migrated 100 applications on cloud in 3 days in AWS. Okay. So how did they did it? How did that lift and shift work? I understand all the bigger organizations that we work, they come up with a cloud strategy, they work for years, months, and that is when we start the migration. But in this scenario, when they had to take a decision in 30 minutes, how did they actually move all these 100 applications to cloud? It's a very interesting and inspiring story. I think everyone should look at it. Maybe you'll get to know how the cloud is helpful and how it is benefiting all of us, right? So it is making our life very much simpler, honestly. Okay. So yeah. So just to before we start, we have okay. So I come from a Java background, right? So I worked on mostly on monolith applications where we used to scale based on vertical scaling. We used to take bigger infra sizes when prior to any go live and so on, right? So but when you move from monolith to microservices, okay, so that is where my expertise now lies. So I have been breaking down monolith applications to a microservice and deploying it to AWS. Okay, so this is a generic deployment architecture that I followed. Okay, the tools that I used uh, within AWS, and this is a generic thing. I couldn't share the actual architecture because of the clauses that I have, but this is the generic that I think everyone can use. So if you see, whenever you design an application, okay, so we talk about VPC, okay, and we talk about the applications within that. So we create a subnet within our VPC and we use this tool. So if you see the Route 53 that we use, uh, so we had, okay, to go back, we had two VPCs. Okay, one is in one region and another in another region. Is like one was in Ohio and one was in North America. So we used that region, and the another region was also active. So this was the active configuration that we used. We used Amazon Route 53 to route between these two regions. Okay, we used IAM to get the access to the instances that we used within the platform uh, that we had within the subnet. S3 bucket, the access to that, CloudWatch for the monitoring and audit trail as well, and the Elastic Container systems for the containerized system. So we use Manage ECR over there. So these are the certain things that we did. So okay, so when you go towards this architecture, these are the common tools that we come across when we start architecting our applications, right? So this is something that I've used throughout most of the systems that I've worked on. Okay, so just to explain before that, um, when you go to the client, right? So he'll be asking that, as I said earlier, he might tell you that I want my data to sit over here in my premise and on premise, and I want your application to run. It's okay, whichever cloud you use, right? So how do you do that? So the advantage of AWS is that they have thought through all these processes, and you have tools which you can use and integrate easily. So that is why you see over here the direct connect gateway. This is basically we had thought of when we were integrating with most of the banks here who were sitting in public sector. So back in the days, right, 2016, 17, we did not have anything in India. Okay, everything we had was in US. So when we started our fintech application in India, so the one of the clauses that our Indian government has is like your data center should reside in India. So that there was a struggle. So that is why it took some time for us to adopt AWS and host our applications on AWS. So luckily in the year 2017 AWS announced that we'll be having a Mumbai region and there'll be some data centers. So we used two availability zones to start with and architect the solution. And then later on with I think now it has come up with more other data centers. So but we kept our DR in Singapore in this case, but then I think now it has been moved to another data center in AWS. Okay, so if you see, it's like there is a purpose that we have used all these tools. So if you see CloudFront, okay, and you see WAF, okay, so WAF is the wireless application firewall support that we use, which is integrated with Amazon API gateway. This was basically for the security purposes, all the requests which are coming in, this is also internally tied with the security groups that we were using. So if you talk about the architecture, there's security that we talk about in each layers. We started with the database layer. We used AES 256 to encrypt all the data that we have. We had database snapshots as well, right, that we were replicating every 10 minutes, so that if anything goes down, we do have something to roll back to. Uh, so that is one. Second is the second layer that you talk about is the instances that we have in EC2, right? So what happens if that is attacked? So as I said earlier, that is not like we were perfect from day one. We did make mistakes. Even our systems were hacked when we got to know that we did not have enough security. But not the production systems I'm talking about. It's the lower environments. Um, so we did have a scenario, right, where our databases were sitting on AWS instances that which was created using Elastic Beanstalk. It got hacked because we had exposed the URL as well as it was open to all. So there were some configurations which we did make as you know when we were learning, but over the period we did try to fix all of that slowly. So as I said, we so when you come to the database layer, so from database layer we encrypted it, then we moved to the EC2. For the DDoS attacks, we did some instance hardening over there, right? So that we could prevent the DDoS attacks. Then at the application gateway layer, we use WAF, right, to have to protect and have a firewall setting over there, and all the interactions between all these systems, the RDS, the load balancer, and all the tools that we were using, all were protected using the security controls that we have, right? So the security groups that we configure. So everything, we had security in each and every layer. Okay, we did experiment and few with lower environments, how it goes, but we kept on increasing over the period, right? So this is the common architecture that we use. Okay, this is throughout AWS that we had. We use Docker to implement. So with that, we use Amazon EKS as well. So that's how it has been. Okay, so I'll move to the next slide. So yeah, so let's talk about the best practices. Okay, so uh, when you are architecting, when you're implementing, when you're designing, right? So how it is going to be. So it's always a practice, right? When we design an architecture, we think of a volume, how much it will be, and we have our infra in that way, right? So most of the data centers or the applications I had used prior when I was working with TCS and the other organizations, so we used to say what should be the server size. So everything that we were doing was based on the volume, and we used to have the sizes accordingly decided. So it might happen that the load is not much on that application, but still there's an additional capacity which is there, and we are just just sitting idle and we are paying for it, right? So that increases your cost. But in this case with the AWS, you have an advantage. You can automate and you can scale accordingly, right? So if you think that this capacity is not working, be pessimistic. When you take an instance, okay, suppose if you go to AWS, you are selecting an instance site, be a slight pessimistic there. You might not need a large instance. Take a smaller instance if possible. If it is not working out, then you can keep on increasing. And in AWS, we all know that you can keep on increasing the instance size. It doesn't take much time. It is all pretty simple. So over here in this case, stop guessing your capacity needs. Okay. Second is like test systems at the production scale. When what I mean by this is like suppose you know that so we had this product which was launched by Narendra Modi. So during that period of time, we came up with a system. It was on demand where we could actually think of the the volume that could be targeted, and we did some test over there. So when you think there's a need, so you can take the on demand servers with the AWS, the same configuration which would be there in production. You can do your testing on that, and then test your application, see if everything is working fine, and you can make a decision there. right? It's not necessary you have everything in the first place. This, you can do it later, right? So next is to automate to make architectural experimentation easier. For that is like what I mean. Use cloud formation scripts. Okay. Uh, okay. If I'm going too fast, let me know. I'll slow down a bit. Okay. I'm not able to see anyone though. Okay. So I'm sorry. Am I on? Okay. So if I'm okay, so when you automate on the third point, so use cloud formation scripts. Suppose if your architecture or your infra is going down, if you have to bring up another infra, it should be pretty quick, right? You cannot go manually and you have to keep on selecting the instances. What you need to do is like you just run your cloud formation scripts and the similar image, your image will be copied and you're up and running again. Okay, so think of the way where you can automate and you can bring up a new instance or images immediately, right? So that is one of the points that you should actually think of when you are implementing as well. Third is allow for evolutionary. Fourth is allow for evolutionary architectures. Over here, I mean, again, it is related to the first point, right? So initial days, we used to have a static. We come up with the instances, sizes, everything was predetermined, right? And so over here, as I said, keep on evolving, right? If you think this is not working for you, change it. Okay, it is not necessarily what worked for me will work for you. Okay, so just keep on experimenting and growing as per your needs, right? That is there. The second last point is drive architecture using data. Over here is like the beauty of again AWS is you have a lot of reports and monitoring tools built on top of it, right? You have CloudWatch, CloudTrail, you can set up the alarms and so many reports that you can have. There are continuous monitoring reports that are being published, so use that. If you think that these parameters are not being working for you, again you can go and change accordingly. We did have a problem, right? When we use CloudFront, so we were integrating with too many other systems which was flowing throughout. So what happened is we were waiting for the vendor application to give back the response, and the response time was actually it was going beyond 2 minutes, right? And and the customer had to wait on the site. So there were some problems there. So and it used to time out because of the time, because there was 60 seconds timeout set on CloudFront, and that was the max settings which was there. So we did reach out to AWS team and we requested them, and they introduced that parameter, and then we got it changed. So it worked. It was more like we are working with another startup in those days. It's like everyone was learning from each other, and that is how we were building our systems accordingly. So that is where it helped us. And the last point is improve through your game days. So as I said, if you know that something is going to if you are going to have a larger volume, you're expecting a larger volume, right? Come up with your production test systems, right? And then do some game days, have everyone work on it, pump applications, create simulators, right? Do some load testing over there. See, it is like till what level your instances can take, or what load your instances can take, and where you have to improve. So do that prior planning, not in the production, right? So this is the advantage that you guys can take with AWS when you have everything on demand. Okay, you can create your you can use the proper data systems to store your data, right? So you can use S3 bucket when you have there are different storage that you can use, Glacier and the I2 instances and so on. There are so many other ways. Think of it where you can save and you can work better. See, it is like every client, every company, wherever you work, right? Everyone wants to save cost, right? So how you can, it is if you do the cost benefit analysis, do that, come up with that chart, and then see it is like what is working for you. I'll give you some tips what we use. Okay, once it is like, as I said, test systems and everything that is apart, but we observed once that our costs were going really high. So and we had our developers using the test instances. So we had different environments. We had SIT, UAT, production, right? So on So we realized the SIT machines were not being used and they were door heavy. Okay, so it is like there was a lot of bills coming, and the cost was going high. So we made sure we automated so that by 11 o'clock we used to bring down the development instances, and when the team is in, we used to bring up again. So this is just, when you're working in a startup environment and when you're trying to save money where you can bring down the cost. So these are the parameters you have to think about. So this is one that we thought at that time, and it really helped us to bring down the cost, right? So, and I said it's like, if you think that the instances are not required or you're using a larger capacity, bring it down, right? Try to use the free services as much you can if you're starting with. But if it is chargeable, there is a link that AWS provides to where you can put all the configurations that you have, and you can see the cost that will be charged to the customer, right? See where you can bring down the cost and help the client. So this is something that you really need to think before you start architecting your solutions. Uh, so this is one of the DevOps strategy that we used throughout. We use GitLab. uh, so we had the applications triggering the build. We used to run tests within Jenkins over there. We had a Docker Hub and the ECR, which were the image repositories. Okay, we used to pull images over there, and we had a agent and microservices deploying the containers, right? And you see the load balancer here and so on. So this is one of the DevOps strategy that we used. Maybe it's like, if it is helpful for you, I just thought of sharing with you guys. Maybe some of the analytics tools, that is the ETL tools that we used on AWS, that is AWS Glue, where we had the RDS already. We built the crawlers, glue crawlers over there, and the ETL. I just go to Amazon Athena and then into S3 bucket. So that's what the flow was. So if in case if you guys are getting into analytics, you should think of this tool and maybe experiment. I understand it's like AWS comes up with many tools every month. So in case I usually, even I have felt that I have not experimented with many things. So in case if you guys want to use, you can try this out. It was really helpful. This is something that we use in BI reporting tool. This is for one of the clients that I had. It was a US based client. So we used to use this for reporting. So everything was, quick. We did it in like 2 or 3 days of time. We were pumping the data in DynamoDB. On top of it, we had Athena. We used to fire the SQL queries on top of that, and we used a quick site for the reporting, which was again pulling the records using Athena. So, and Redshift definitely for loading and caching of the data, right? So in case it's like, if you guys are full-fledged on AWS and you want to experiment with a few of the tools, these are the tools I think should be must go for you. Okay, and you should definitely try this out. Okay, okay, I think I'm almost done here. I did not think I'll finish this fast, but yeah, let me know. Any questions? Anyone?
Um, Kathy, I think in the comment section we can see they have asked about AWS Backup. If you can talk about it, it would be great.
Okay, so AWS backup. So as I said, it's like we used to take snapshots periodically. So we used to run the backups. We used to take the snapshots of the database and also EC2 instances. EC2 instances, we used to not change configuration many times. So that was just, once in a day, in case if there are any logs or something that we want to take a backup of. So, but for the database, we used to take every 10 minutes. And how we used to do, we have a multi-AZ configuration where we used to replicate the data every 10 minutes, and also taking the snapshots parallelly. Does that
Okay,
answer your
thank you.
question?
I guess, yeah.
Oh, that was pretty fast. I did not think I'll go this fast. Okay, anything you want me to go back, I can answer.
In the pricing, I mean, like sometimes accidentally developers tend to like um, set for high usage or something. So how, what should an architect do? Is it like a daily monitoring thing, or how did you work it out?
It's a daily monitoring. Okay, so as I said, there is a monitoring dashboard that you can create in AWS, uh, where you can actually set up the CloudWatch and audit trails on your systems. Okay, so on your VPC at each layer, or the AWS components that you are using. So based on that, there is a monitoring tool, a monitoring dashboard within AWS that you can reuse. There are other systems as well, or the other companies which are building on top of AWS, which is definitely licensed. So in case if you are okay to do that, so there are pretty dashboards created by them as well. But AWS themselves, they give that. So in case if you want to use those, that is available within AWS. So as I said, there are certain ground rules that you need to do. Any tool that you are using, set up a CloudWatch, set up a audit trail, and also set up alarms. Okay, even when you open a trial account, and suppose if you're new to AWS, if you're opening a trial account, not all services are free. So when you are using any service to for a trial purpose, do set up an alarm over there so that you are not chargeable. So from there is when you can start learning, right? So there are many other tools that are many other features that are available that you can experiment with.
Okay, thank you, Khyati.
Was it fast? Is it? I'm not sure. Guys, you can give me feedback on the call itself. That's okay.
Yeah, actually, I found very useful because I have no experience in any project, but I have done the AWS certification exam because in your presentation, I could able to understand all of this stuff. Even I haven't done any project, but yet I can understand all the concepts you explained. I hope that's the case with all of them. It's not like only the experienced people can understand it. It's like AWS on the basics also, you can understand whatever you said.
Yeah. So actually, I tried to make it simple,
Yeah,
but
that
I'm
was
not sure how
great.
much you guys. Yeah. But anyways, guys, anyway, anytime you want to reach out to me, you can ping me on LinkedIn. I've given my link over there. In case if you want to reach out to
um
me, definitely do.
so do you have any tip on people who are going to give an AWS examination? I think so many people are going to give AWS examination.
Yeah. So the thing is, I understand the curiosity and the enthusiasm there, right? So
Yeah.
I would suggest if you don't have an AWS background and if you're pretty new and you're planning to do a certification, I would suggest do practice. Okay. When I did my AWS certification, it's like I remember it's like the exam pattern had changed. So when I went to the center, and I was pretty surprised, everyone goes through the test sample questions that we have, right? So it was pretty different than what I had expected. So it was a pretty shocker. So what I would suggest is do practice, try to get the basic knowledge. What would you do? Put yourself in. So all the questions in AWS are situational, right? They'll put you in the situation. What will you do? What you think is the best answer for you, right? So just think of the best answer you can in that situation. What will work, right? Because it is very tricky. It is like even the words are a bit, complicated. It might confuse you. So I would suggest you just, if you have practiced enough, I think you'll crack it easily. So it's just not go through the theory. Just do not go through the dumps only. Do not rely that. I understand everyone thinks about it, but right, do not just rely on this. Do go experiment, create a sample application. I always keep on telling all my team members who I work with, do experiment, do learn. Okay, take a create a free account. Okay, they try to deploy a simple application over there. It could be a Java application, Python application, or any application you can think of. Just do that. There are a lot of free services which are available. Try to use that and learn from it. That's the key over here. Okay.
So that makes me ask you another question, Khyati.
Yeah.
So it may not be AWS, but pretty much most of us who are actually working must be working with some kind of cloud, right? It could be Azure or GCP or whatever. So what
Yeah.
do you think people working in other cloud platforms have? advantage in taking this exam, or will it be a little easier for them, or is it
Yeah.
good?
Okay. So it's like an interesting question, Vijay, because it's like in my current organization also we are moving to GCP and Azure. I come from a strong AWS background. Okay.
Right,
So so for me it was like if I see when I compare the concepts, so it's like I'm not sure if everyone have worked on all the programming languages, but for me it's like if you understand OOPS concept, right? You can work on Java, .NET, all the object-oriented programming, right?
right,
So the code becomes so the same thing applies here. So if you have worked on one cloud, you can actually start relating the other cloud architectures as well, right? The tools that they provide. So earlier there used to be a case, even in AWS it used to be a case, right? They introduce the service in a particular region, they won't introduce in another region. They'll be experimenting in one region, right? So when you have to move from one cloud to another, right? So you need to have a similar tools, but now it has advanced so much that there's a competition is so much that you'll have something similar in the other cloud areas as well, right? So if you, I'm not sure whether I have that slide over here,
yes,
but when I started, I was doing the comparison, right? So if it is easy to hear what is in GCP, what is in Azure, I think if you guys just Google it, you will find it, right? So you can start relating and it becomes easy. So, and as per my understanding and my learning till now, I had created a GCP account as well. I was experimenting something over there. But for me,
right,
it is like AWS has been super simple. You have enough material online, you have
right.
enough videos online, you have enough support. So I think it is easy to start with the AWS and then move to another cloud if you are in the learning stage.
Right, yeah. So that also makes me think about the tools that are common across. So, for example, Terraform's script is much easier to code because these days it's kind of getting dynamic on migrating or using hybrid clouds or something. So
Right.
having instead of going to Azure script or like Azure specific script or AWS specific script, I think we better choose tools which would. I'm saying a journey should be towards cloud agnostic approach where these could be easily migrated to any kind of cloud, right? So
Correct. So that brings out to I think I forgot to cover that. So when we were architecting the solutions, right, it's like there were members who when we wanted to sell our product, we did not know that the customer is going to actually agree to a cloud, going on the public cloud, right? When we want to deploy our product on the other systems, right, to the other banks, they had a restriction. So we used to think of the open source products which are there, okay, which
okay,
could be in line with the cloud. So it's like, for example, API gateway. We thought of Nginx. We'll deploy Nginx on the AWS instance and we use that, right? So we had all these, backups. And right now, the tools that you're thinking of, it's not, it is something that AWS managed. It is, you can get away with that, right? So you'll have an alternative for every tool or every service that you are using within the cloud, right? So even if you don't want to use any of the cloud, you just want to lift and shift, and you want to use the same tools that you are using in your data center, it is possible, right? So it is nothing complicated. So you'll always have an alternative. So if it is something that you're using here and you are moving to Azure and Azure does not have the service, then you have maybe an open source service to provide that alternate, right? So you can definitely do
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. It makes complete sense. And how about the documentation? Do you think for this is mostly from Martech's questions, I should say.
Mhm.
So I see a whole bunch of reference architectures and huge amount of case studies in AWS documentation. So with so much of experience you have you been going through those? Were they helpful? Are there any few which are best, or what is it about?
They are definitely helpful. Okay, you
Okay,
should
okay,
actually start. You see the best practices over there. That is how we learned, right? So you should actually start. If I can share Vijaya, I'll share it with you later on. Not what I had worked
okay.
on, but some reference architecture that everyone can use maybe. Okay.
Okay, I'll share that in the user group. We have a specific
Yeah.
WhatsApp group. I take this chance to announce it to people, attendees also. Like Khyati is has agreed to answer questions if there are any in the user group. Also, please post it in WhatsApp group in case you don't get a chance to ask here. So I'll try to get answers for those questions, and Khyati would answer those. Yeah, Khyati, you were saying something.
Yeah. So I'm saying I'll share the reference architectures over there. Maybe that will be
Yeah.
helpful. all over.
Yeah, yeah. I'll make sure that.
Kathy, we have
Yes.
one question from the comments. If you could see.
Yeah. Okay. I'm an automation testing as a fresher. So I want to move to. It's very simple. It's like you start learning, right? I think it's Preetham. Uh, yeah, so Preetham, is like you can start your, reading about AWS, right? It's just not the automation testing and all. It's like when you say you want to move to AWS, you're moving from testing background to a infra or a DevOps background, right? So that is your interest. So you might have to start learning, experimented there, see how it is like AWS is right now used, right? Read about it and try to deploy an application over there. See, you can definitely connect with me. I'll tell you how you can go about with it. I can share some links with you.
Thank you for that. So, do we have any other question?
I think there are a few questions over here, but on the trusted advisor um, by Siva.
Okay.
Siva is like trusted advisor is a support from AWS. I don't think so. It's free. Okay, so in case it's like if you want to experiment something and you want someone to help you and guide you through, that is where your trusted advisor come into picture. So and that is the service provided by the AWS. So whatever the architecture that you have made, you can run through the trusted advisor. Then you will get to know the score, and accordingly you can implement. A deduplication feature and functionality will work in AWS Backup. I am not sure about this question. Uh, Maybe I'll have to look through it. Um, okay, I think that's all we have. Okay, so Vijaya is like, I think I have even, I need to step up. But just
Yeah.
create the WhatsApp group and let me know.
Yeah, I think it's discard now, but Swati has something to say as part of closing the event. So I'll just wait for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Kathy, for taking time out and giving this wonderful session. It was really helpful. I can't stress enough that you took a part in that like basic level so everybody could understand everything. So it was really great. Thank you for that. And I want to thank all of the people who joined for the session. It was really great. I think you all enjoyed this session, and I hope to see you in the upcoming sessions as well. If you want more videos or more informative sessions like this, please do subscribe and um, stay tuned. It's all from my side, and thank you, Vijaya, for help for organizing this event. I think you organized most of these things. I know. Thank you for that,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and I hope you all
thanks,
have a good
Kathy.
day.
Thank you, AWS User Group Hyderabad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Vijaya. Thanks, Swati. Hey, guys. Thank you. I hope it was helpful. If not, if you need more information, just reach out to me. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Good day.